Welcome to New Realities. This is Alan Steinfeld, and this program is about the evolution of our consciousness and how we as a planetary civilization are moving into new realities, new frontiers of being, and that has to do with how we as a planet are moving into new territory within the galaxy. We are uncovering new parts of ourselves, but particularly tonight, in this opening interview, I'll be talking to some good friends, some frequent guests to the show, Doctors J.J. Hurtak, Dr. Desiree Hurtak, and we're going to talk about the meteor or asteroid that's on its way into Earth's orbit that should be here Friday. It's supposed to be about the size of a football field, and it's not going to hit the Earth, as people have said, but it is going to come very close, well within the moon's orbit and well within the orbits of many satellites. So I'm going to be talking to the Hurtaks about what that means. Is there anything to worry about? What's the history of asteroids impacting the Earth, and what we should look forward to this Friday? Welcome, Dr. J.J. Hurtak, Dr. Desiree Hurtak.
Welcome to our worldwide audience, and thank you very much for having us aboard on this momentous occasion where we must be aware of the phenomena of asteroids, comets, and things that could literally change the planetary field of life as we know it.
Well, tell us exactly what is going to happen, because you've done the research, both of you, and I know we don't have anything to worry about, but if we should worry about it, what would we worry about?
Well, I'd like to dedicate this program to Gene Shoemaker, a well-known geologist, father of archaeogeology, a former professor at Caltech in California, who put forth the notion that there would be these cataclysmic events, great events from space, meteorite, as well as asteroid events that could trigger the, shall we say, destruction of civilization, certainly connected with the Chicxulub events that we now have confirmed through other research that's going on. But Gene Shoemaker really set the high bar for looking at this as a very important field of scientific investigation.
Right. So about a year ago, actually February 22nd of last year, people in the observatory in La Sangra in southern Spain actually saw this asteroid. That means it's coming close towards us. And they put an alarm out and they started analyzing it. You have to get the trajectories to see where and when it's coming. And one of the planetary societies, which is very big here, it's called the Planetary Society, actually helped fund some of the research for analyzing this. And this asteroid. That's very important because it's called 2012, because that's when it was discovered, and DA14. It's just the number, DA14, and it really is an asteroid.
Okay. Now tell me, how big is it, and when do they expect it to approach the Earth?
Right, so it's about 45.7 meters.
So half a football field.
It's something that's anticipated to pass the Earth on this Friday, 15th, somewhere between 1900 hours and 2200 hours, that will be seen in Asia and South Africa, in that eastern part of the planet as we stand here in southern Northern California.
Okay, so, but we won't be able to see it, as reports say.
We can't see it, but the people over in Europe perhaps can see it, and the people in Australia and the Far East can see it in the early morning. So it's actually going to be visible from certain parts of the planet.
What will they see if they see this thing in the sky?
Well, basically, there's particular star constellations they need to look towards, especially at the night sky. And that's connected around Virgo and Leo, that area. And what they also need to look at is, for an object, it's actually moving, but it's moving
45 seconds approximately for crossing the space the size of a moon. We're working at very quick events that possibly could be captured by those who have small cameras in that part of the world. But unfortunately, we're not going to see it from our side of the world. It's going to be there in Asia primarily.
And in Europe. It will look kind of slow. Because mostly, not that it's going slow, because it's actually going quite fast. It's technically going 26,000 miles an hour as it passes, but because it is quite far away. So, yeah, look at an object that goes the width of the moon in 45 seconds that's traveling around Virgo and Leo constellations, and you may be able to see it with binoculars even, or even with the naked eye, depending on how clear it is.
Okay, so it will be like a kind of like a plane jet, like what?
Just a round light, just a white light that's traveling, almost looks like a satellite because it's similar to that. And it's at 17,000 miles away, and it's, again, 45.7 meters wide, but it's quite far away. So what's interesting is how far away it is. It's farther than the space station, but as you said, it's not as far as the moon. It's between the space station and the moon. It's actually in the orbit area of where we have some of our satellites, so we're going to have to watch that. But I don't think even the NASA scientists are not concerned about it coming close enough to disturb any of our satellites.
Well, I have a lot of questions for you. First of all, that's pretty close for an object. If an object that size were to hit the Earth, what kind of damage would it do?
Well, I just want to say the position that it's going to be is about 17,200 miles away. And so it's not going to hit again for sure. But it's similar to what happened in the area of Siberia in 1908 in Tunguska.
And that's part of Siberia. Events were recorded some 600 miles away. There was a radius of thousands of trees that were basically brought quickly down to the surface of the Earth. Nomadic groups were tossed in their tents off the surface of the Earth. It was really a event that would have been tragic for Western or Central Europe had it been in any other place except Siberia. But that evidence has been looked at by Russian scientists in the 20s and 30s that would have had catastrophic events. And this is really the point I want to make is even though this is small by measurement, still the events that it would trigger in terms of tsunamis, supersonic windbursts, wildfires, even earthquake-like tremors would be enough to bring down large city areas. So we're very thankful that this is just simply going to fly by, according to most experts, without any real serious damage, except possibly through satellite in orbit.
So this is quite different from, again, it's 45.7 meters wide. This is different from what hit in the area of Merida. And I know, Alan, we were all there together recently. This is a very major place. That was a 10-kilometer diameter asteroid. Now, that's a lot different. 10 kilometers from 45 meters, so, meters to kilometers, it's really just hundreds of times larger in that sense. But the bottom line on that was what wiped out the dinosaurs. This size of an asteroid would simply, if it hit like central New York, could destroy the city of New York. But for the most part, it really only affects about, we'll say, 500-mile radius, something like that.
Right. So there have been that one that hit in 1908 in Tunguska. Did they actually find the asteroid? Because I heard they never found anything there. They just saw the forest that was flattened, but there was no evidence of an asteroid.
Well, talking to Russian geologists and explorers, they did not find any direct evidence, and that led to an interesting statement that was in the Izvestia back in the late 1960s, and repeated again in the 70s, that the Tunguska event was the result of an explosion of an extraterrestrial ship over Russia. This triggered the imagination of Fred Singer, who was one of the great planetary scientists and one who just lectured recently to the Mars Society. This got him interested in these super phenomenal events from space. But the Russian story about the ET explosion, of course, was purely bogus to charm, as it were, those people interested in this type of situation. It was clearly an event that was natural in impact. The scope in terms of demographics would have been horrendous any other place on the planet.
Well, just to get back to the UFOs, I want to say that after my talk with you tonight, I'll be talking to Grant Cameron, who is very much investigating the UFO cover-up that's been going on the last few years. But you don't think this asteroid is a UFO that's coming our way? It's definitely
no, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
In fact, it plans to come back once again in the trajectory, and this is not uncommon for certain asteroids where they come and they go. Halley's Comets, they've been known to come and go. I just want to say, since we're talking about UFOs, and of course some people do think that the Siberian asteroid crater could have been a UFO that crash landed there. We're going to be also talking at a UFO conference in the Ozarks. It's Ozark UFO Conference, April 12th to 14th. If anyone's interested, we can discuss some of these factors. But, we have to realize there's a lot out there in the universe. There's lots of asteroids. In fact, there's tens of thousands in the asteroid belt. That's that area between Mars and Jupiter. That might have been a planet. Some people called it Malduk, that broke apart. This is not really a popular astronomic idea since there's not that much asteroid material there, but it could have been a planet that really got blown apart. We know that we had a meteorite that landed here that the scientists feel came from Mars. And so you wonder how a meteorite could have come from Mars. But if there was enough of a volcano or some other asteroid, something made something leave the atmosphere and it came over here. So there's lots of stuff out there.
So, your organization is Future Science. There's a lot of spiritual, it's a very spiritually based organization. Is there anything, we have the physical evidence or something's coming this way. How does this reflect, not astrologically wise, but on a more conscious level, our place in the galaxy and who we are as more multidimensional beings, in a sense? Does it have anything to do with that?
Well, we recognize that our universe in large is friendly towards evolution. In other words, our evolutionary event of life is a jackpot event, that the right evidence for evolutionary processes came together. And I would like to emphasize the positive outlook for the future. I do think that, in fact, there could be, according to Gene Shoemaker, upwards of 2,000 different asteroid events that could strike the Earth at any time in terms of crossing into our space. But nonetheless, we are on a positive move towards a dimension of an extraterrestrial imperative, from Earth into space, into human habitats in our solar system and beyond.
Right. So the Keys of Enoch actually do not warn us, per se, about an asteroid hitting the planet and destroying us like they destroyed the dinosaurs. I always say if it hit in the past, it can't hit again because it already hit once. But there's tons of asteroids out there, tons of comets that come out from the Oort cloud, which is at the far ends of the solar system. They come around in large periods of time, sometimes 4,000, even 40,000 year trajectories. But with all that said, life might have been formed here, at least water and the primitive bacteria, from these asteroids and comets that have come by and have struck our planet. And what you're asking, though, Alan, is what about this energy coming right now?
Yeah.
Because we know that the moon affects us. Women can often feel that energy. Full moon, there's even sometimes high crime rates going on, and maybe many people at the hospitals. And now, this is a smaller object than the moon, but it's coming even closer. So there very well could be some sort of energetic effect affecting the consciousness of people on the planet.
Well, what would that be? Would it be a positive energetic thing or a negative energetic thing?
It would definitely be a positive, and I think the whole concept here of being, shall we say, on the red line, the tarmac, looking for events in space, even though this is an interesting flyby, allows us to be more aware of the signatures of life in space and the fact that we must open our horizons to grasp the fact that we are, shall we say, participants on one planet, but also having options to move to others, allows us to be more aware of our guiding systems.
Well, I think that's one of the most important things about recognizing that the Earth is moving through interstellar space. Things are not just normal and routine. We are really coming into something new, and there's a greater awareness because of our technology that we are, what you've said, galactic-based beings. So
right, we are going into the state of what I call Homo galacticus, galactic humanity, realizing indeed there are places in space that could be considered null zones. There are situations in space that are far more dangerous in terms of meteorite bombardment. But we do know from the meteors that we've recovered from the Antarctic region, such as the Allen Hills 84001, that these meteorite materials and asteroid materials can serve to bring the life-giving DNA towards new planetary systems. So these are triggering mechanisms of life more so than death. I like to emphasize the process of realizing that these are stepping stones to building a greater, should we say, a roadmap of the heavens.
So in a sense, it could be putting us in touch with something much greater, since it has traveled here, perhaps from the asteroid belt, has traveled here before from around the sun. It's been there, and now it's coming close to us, so that energy of where it's been is now coming towards us and being close to us. So I'm sure we're picking up on some of that.
Well, I also think you made an important point, the fact that scientists also think that many of the comets that may have hit the Earth actually brought the oceans to the Earth here, because there's a lot of icy material around these comets, and we could have been impacted by one. But the idea is that the Earth is not isolated. We think we are on some idyllic, separate sort of being here, or entity, or planet that doesn't interface with the rest of the universe, but there is a huge interface, and we've been ignorant of that as a civilization. I think this asteroid and its approach, and I don't know how big it's really gotten in the media because I don't think they want to scare people, but we need to understand, and I think that's your work, that we are part of a greater environment, a greater ecology, a galactic ecology, and that's the key that I want to bring out in doing an interview like this.
Right, and oftentimes these asteroids or the meteors are when they come through the atmosphere, which this one's not getting close to, so we'll call it an asteroid, which is the proper term. But it does probably have certain types of possibly amino acids that were instrumental in sharing life with the universe. So perhaps some of that energy is also coming towards us.
I just have a question. Is there any talk from NASA about sending a ship up there, or like the space satellite, the space station, one of those, NASA-based rockets to intercept or meet this asteroid as it's coming? Has there been talk about that?
Well, no, I think they're not going to do it for this one, but of course they are really on standby. If any one of these asteroids were coming head on to the Earth, I think that they are prepared to go up there in some fashion, some capacity, and try to move it off of its orbit or even explode it completely, depending on what size it is.
There was a movie about that called Meteorite with Bruce Willis. Did you see that? That's exactly what happened. They sent us.
I think Bruce Willis can take a sigh of relief and a cup of coffee regarding this event. But Jet Propulsion Lab, where I consulted one time, had a weather data processing software in terms of meteorological processing, and they looked at all sorts of possibilities of, should we say, the movements of near-Earth objects, what this would hold in terms of new discovery, the elements of life that could possibly be improved upon in terms of the knowing of the life-giving chemistry that is coming in our direction. In short, we are at a stepping stage here of looking at a much greater philosophy of science in terms of astrobiology, and the whole aspect of this small event can lead to very outstanding launches in the near future.
I have to say, though, that we were last year when we were there for the Mars landing of the Curiosity rover. What was very interesting is we were talking with other scientists and people connected with some of the big names out here in Silicon Valley, connected with eBay and other places like Yahoo. They're looking at a real proposal to take a spaceship, or it will be like an unmanned probe, probably to the area of the asteroid belt, and that is just beyond Mars before Jupiter, and look at mining some of the elements, because olivine is there, and a lot of these things are nickel and iron and other types of precious stones. In fact, an interesting thing is there's tons of craters around the entire planet. And if you look at what's underneath those craters, oftentimes, and there's a big one in Russia, and they just found a load of diamonds. So anywhere it hits, there tends to be these gemstones because of the impact from these asteroid meteorites.
Well, is there moldavite is it Hungary that it is from a meteor? It's called moldavite?
Most likely, there's a lot of gemstones and very precious minerals, and in some cases, they're even thinking perhaps oil, because even the small one, if this one was to hit the planet, it'll be the equivalent of a 50 megaton nuclear bomb. That much energy. The big one was something like 100 megatons. That's even more than what we have in our whole arsenals on this planet. So you can see the amount of energy
that they're saying on the news is that it could possibly hit a satellite.
Exactly. Because it's coming 17,200 miles from us. Our satellites go all the way, and there's tons of satellites, up to 35,000 miles.
Right.
So, and the space station, much lower than that, like I said, about 250 miles, so they're not going to have any problem with the space station.
So if it hit a satellite, what would happen?
Well, in fact, two satellites actually hit each other some time back. That's why we don't have I think it's called the Iridium. It was going to be the satellite cell phone. And that poor satellite got hit by a Russian satellite. But, this happens. There's collisions from time to time, actually, of satellites.
Let me just ask you both a question. And, I was listening to Coast to Coast the other night, and they say it's not if, it's when. Look at the moon. It's full of craters from, asteroids hitting that. I mean, is there a possibility at some point in our future that...
Well, you and I and Dr. Desiree were recently in the Chicxulub crater in the Yucatan area that was formed some 65 million years ago. That it was so vast it reached 110 miles or 180 kilometers really into the Gulf of Mexico, and you can see it from space, remote sensing technology. And we felt an enormous uniqueness of Mexico. Yucatan has a different type of soil structure. The whole reality of what that event took place in terms of human and animal evolution is, of course, under great debate. But Louis Alvarez and his son Walter here at Berkeley suggested that the dinosaurs were killed off. Mass extinction took place at this time, and we know that the Chicxulub area is significant because it marks the threshold of what could happen under the worst scenario.
But Dr. Hurtak actually, of course, wrote the book, The Keys of Enoch, and in what he was shown about our immediate future in the next at least 50 to 75 years, he did not see a major disaster equivalent to that taking place.
Right. And I believe we're coming into an awakening of human civilization. I think life on Earth is beautiful, and we are now at a moment where we're finally maturing as a civilization, and it's time to really enjoy ourselves. And we can always worry about the sun exploding or this or that, but we're here to really live, enjoy, and be the incarnation of the divine spirit that we are.
Well, that's exactly why we were in Yucatan recently to celebrate with the natives of the Indian traditions, the indigenous people who have this marvelous tradition of fire coming out of space, the events that were there, and also that gave birth to forms of proto-astronomy and geology that created a great civilization, a great scientific civilization that really has answers and secrets to the planetary scientists of the past.
Right, and we just finished December 21st, 2012. We went through the end of the old era, and we're now in the new one. Let's not look at the disasters that will take place. Let's look at ways that we can help the planet. And there's much to do here, what's taking place all over the globe. So
well, I do appreciate your work and your intense focus on keeping us aware of these spiritual realities, and your work with the Keys of Enoch and the upcoming conferences and the movies you're involved with are adding to the upliftment and ascension of our planetary civilization. So I really appreciate the work you both are doing. Thank you. And tell us, you'll be, of course, in and out of New York, but tell us what's coming up for both of you.
Again, the Ozark UFO conference is coming up on April 12th to 14th. There'll be people like Linda Moulton Howe, Giorgio from Ancient Aliens, and many other people that are also lecturing there. So hopefully maybe some people who are interested in the UFO side of our work will be able to join us.
Okay, well,
So this is the age of the extraterrestrial imperative, and there will be disclosures, I believe, in Washington this year that will be very significant in tying together information that suggests we do need a new astronomy, a new cosmology, and we need to have really more information regarding the quote-unquote extraterrestrial anomalies that we're seeing, both from natural as well as what some would suggest as non-natural sources that we have to look at. We have to enlarge our cosmic roadmap, but we also have to realize that we are cosmic citizens growing up in a dynamic universe that is bio-friendly to us, that we have a place of destiny.
And conversation we were having about asteroids, we have on a film with you, Alan. It's called Consciousness and the Codes of Life in the Cosmos. And of course, we were talking about asteroids bringing life, but we also can acknowledge that UFOs going all over the local star systems also could have brought life amongst the planets. So we'll let you take off with your next guest on UFOs and realize that asteroids could have brought the primitive life here, although we think that perhaps all of us came from a higher perspective.
Well, I appreciate that. Is there anything, I'm going to be talking to Grant Cameron, is there anything you know who he is? He has the UFO White House.
Right. Well, we're looking forward to much more disclosure this year and from many people, and hopefully in the next couple years that maybe now, hopefully the government will be starting to release some of this information. It might take an event. It won't be an asteroid, but it might take a UFO event that everyone sees and no one can deny.
Well, it might be an event like lightning striking, so we say the White House,
or the
Dome, or the Vatican.
Or the Vatican. What did you think of that? That was pretty strange, wasn't it?
I think this will be a slide to a new theology-astronomy. And then astronomers will play a very important role in the disclosure events in the coming year or two. And I just say this in a sense of deep seriousness. There are tremendous theologians and anthropologists who are scholars looking at the whole roadmap of where we go from here with the new information.
This is Alan Steinfeld for New Realities. Thank you both for being there. And if you want to hear this program again, you can go to the BBS archives. You can go to the newrealities.com website under podcasts, and you can look up futurescience.org and keysofenoch.org. If you have any questions, you can email me at newrealities@earthlink.net and check my website, newrealities.com. Thank you for listening.